Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the YouTubes, and welcome back to the SD Custom Shop. In this video, obviously, I'm going to be showing you the new machine that we get in the shop. Not very sure of the year it was manufactured, but this is my new old Craftsman Atlas 12-inch by 36-inch metal lathe. What that means, for those of you who don't know, is it has a 12-inch overall swing and a 36-inch space for the length of the material to turn. Now, the bed itself is actually 46 inches from the very end to where the headstock base starts, but between centers, that extra 10 inches is actually taken up, and it's considered a 36-inch lathe, from my understanding. These lathes were built by the Atlas company, but marketed and sold under Craftsman's name, given the Atlas Craftsman lathe name. They manufactured several different models and sizes of these machines. This one is the model number 101.20140. So you can see here, Sears Roebuck Company USA, but it's really made by Atlas. This model featured the dimensions that I mentioned earlier and a quick change gearbox, which gives you 45 different thread cutting patterns. Standard, by the way. This machine on the quick change does not cut metric threads. And 9 different carriage feed settings. This looks like a lot of variety, but really there's a lot of gripe from guys about the carriage feeds on this machine, because the slowest you can actually get it to power feed the carriage back and forth is 4.2 thousandths per spindle revolution, and it goes up to 7.8 thousandths of feed per spindle revolution. But from my experience so far, and from what a lot of seasoned guys say, this machine does not exactly go slow enough for a lot of operations, and gives you a pretty poor surface finish if you don't have the correct tooling. Back here we have the motor featured on this machine. It's 1/3 horsepower, AC single phase, so you can plug this into your wall no problem. That's what I've got going on here. Between motor and spindle we have 16 different potential speeds that we can select from. We have the 2 primary pulleys steps here, directly from the motor to the inner workings of the machine. From this shaft to the spindle shaft outside, we have 4 pulleys, and then we have one more range, which is back gears. You can throw this little lever right here in, and this engages from pulley to pulley across to the gear set back here, through this shaft and into this gear, which directly will drive the spindle. Now, before you do that, you'd pull out the little bull pin back there to disconnect this whole assembly to where these two will be spinning independently. This machine was made with flat, non-hardened bedways, and aside from the obvious carriage feed, we also have a cross feed as well to operate the cross slide here. So now that I've gone over the specifications of the make of this machine, let's talk about this particular machine itself, the one that I have before me. The person that I got this from had it just for a short time in their garage, and it was a barn find to them from the person that they bought it from. So it had been evidently sitting in a barn for a long time, hadn't been used. Whenever I got it from the person who bought it from there, it was all seized up. The carriage would not move. Everything was very, very stiff. The spindle and all that, everything was free there. The chuck, however, was really kind of seized up, and the gearbox is off. The quick change gearbox was completely off, and it was just really dirty and grimy. So I spent it took me about a week or so to get it taken apart, and I took everything apart, wiped everything down the best I could, cleaned everything up, got it oiled, got grease where grease needs to go, and put it back together. It turned out quite nice. Really, there was no evidence of rust damage. It was just a little bit seized up, old crusty grease and all that kind of thing. So better to have that than it have rust damage. I'd like to say that this machine is 100% fine and dandy for everything, but reality says that's not the case. It has been well used, and it shows many signs of it. Perhaps the biggest problem that I see with this lathe is the bed is very, very well worn in this area right here where you'd typically run the carriage. As I mentioned earlier, these beds are non-hardened. They're non-hardened steel or iron, whatever. They're non-hardened. They're not like a commercial type machine. They were definitely built on a budget. Between this non-hardened bed and the Zamac gears, it causes some issue, but Craftsman and Atlas had to make this to be affordable for the homeowner, and well, sacrifices had to be made and compromise. There's only one original knob actually left on this machine. These two knobs were in place whenever I got it, and that's, from what I hear, it's not very uncommon. I believe these handles were also made of Zamac or some sort of material that broke easily, but that's to be expected. These machines are very old. I'm pretty sure this one is pre-50s, 1950s or so, but yeah, this is the only knob that's actually left. These two have been replaced with these plastic wheels, and back here this one is just completely snapped off, and I've just left it there because it's the most convenient one to have. It's broken like that. Whenever I need to use the tailstock, for now I just put a rag on there, but eventually I'm going to replace that with something better, of course. The other shocking sign of wear back here would be in these gears, the lead screw feed gears. They have a lot of slop in them. Actually, let me engage that. There we go. They're actually engaged with the spindle right now, and they have that much slop in them. That's just typical. I mean, it's going to come from use. They're pointy and sharp. Just from lots of use. That's what's going to happen with gears over time. Is the profile gets filed down more and more, and they get really sharp on the end. So I'm eventually going to replace these. Thank goodness it's actually only these two gears right here. The rest in the gearbox seem to be just fine, as well as this one on the end of the spindle that actually drives it. Another typical sign of wear right here is on the little cross slide tool holder thing. It's been rammed into the chuck a few times, of course. You can see where somebody's brazed the material back on. So this machine, I don't know, of course, what this thing was used for, but it did see a lot of action and evidently a lot of accidents. It could have been used in a school or something, I don't know, but that had to be completely welded back up. But it's not that bad. They actually did a pretty good job of repairing it. The last downside of this machine, as far as condition, is of course inside the tailstock taper. It is galled up inside. It's not good, but you know, we're just going to have to live with that for now. Eventually I'm going to get that replaced or refinished if I can. I doubt that that's possible, but yeah, it's had obvious slippage of the tapers and stuff that have been jammed into it over the years. And that's all I can think of right now that is apparently wrong with this machine. Everything else actually seems to be just fine. I'm surprised that this has never broken. This Zamac piece that holds the lead screw on. The lead screw is in pretty fair condition. The half nut is tight, and all the inner workings of the machine over here are great. with the exception of that those gears to the immediate PTO of the spindle here. With all that said, let me go ahead and just start it up here for you, let you hear it run. Let me disengage that right quick. I'll run it without the lead screw engaged. That pulley back there has some wobble to it. An awesome feature as well as this machine actually has the reverse. You have to be careful not to spin that chuck off because it is just held on by threads. And this machine, I never let the chuck get seized, so if you throw it in the reverse, you have to be careful not to let it spin the chuck off. I'm going to go ahead and engage the lead screw into, I believe, the forward direction. Unlike a lot of apparently better looking machines, this one actually sounds a lot smoother when the lead screw is engaged. Of course, we are at a lower RPM. Let's go ahead and throw that into reverse. Roughly the same story. I'm going to go ahead and run it for a second in the highest speed that you can do with the rear pulley in the high, in the low range. I'm not going to be putting it in the high range tonight. But, oh yeah, you can also complain to me about not having anything in this 4-jaw chuck. I'm not worried about the jaws flying out for just a second, okay? Now this is it without the lead screw engaged. I've now got the machine in the high range of the back gears. I pulled the bullpen there. It sounds like a combine back here because there's some in-play in this gear right here. That's where all that noise is coming from. I feel like if I could move this retainer back here up to hold this gear a little bit more still, they would stop that. And finally, this is the slowest speed that the machine will do. There you have it. I hope you found this video interesting. Maybe you have a machine like this yourself, or maybe you're just keeping up with the development of my little shop here. Either way, thank you very, very much for watching. Expect this machine in many videos to come. It'll sure be a great addition to the shop, and I'm proud to finally have my own lathe. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, subscribe and like the video or dislike, whatever. Leave a comment too. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time on SD Customs.